Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of Let's Cover Korea. Week 3 is in the books, and we have a perfect prediction maker. That's right. Wolf himself got all 10 predictions correct. He
10
foresaw
out of
how the
10.
matches would go. And
10 out of 10.
yeah, I got probably like 5 out of 10 last week.
I mean, the two predictions that were somewhat tumultuous, somewhat contentious were the D plus T1 predictions,
Yep.
and then the Hanwha Gen.G. And I was a little bit surprised no one else. I don't think anyone else, anyways. I couldn't see anyone else predicting D plus. There might have been someone on the KR side and I missed it, but that one felt a little bit more likely to me than the Hanwha Gen.G. But we talked about this on the show last week, and Hanwha versus Gen.G. You kind of convinced me that Kanavi was gonna run the game, and after thinking about it, I was like, yeah, actually, absolutely. But I didn't really fully believe it until the day of, and then it happened almost exactly like you said, and like I kind of was convinced by, and we ended up just seeing Gen.G get obliterated. And there's a lot of people who still trust that Gen.G's fundamentals are just so much better than everyone else's right now that they'll just kind of win anyways. Like, I had a really fun discussion with Atlas about this, where he was shocked that at my Hanwha prediction, and then he was shocked at how many people predicted Hanwha, because in his mind, he was like, yeah, Kanavi can win the early game, but then like they don't know what to do after that, and Gen.G will just be better than them, which I think is a very realistic take, right? And I think the Gen.G predictors were like, no, Gen.G's just too good, it'll be fine. And then the Hanwha predictors were like, no, Hanwha have figured it out. They're just going to run the game super hard because Canyon's early game is insanely weak right now, and it's a bad matchup, and they'll just get bowled over. And that's what happened ultimately. But I could see why people still trusted Gen.G. I think those people are a little bit less likely to trust Gen.G now, though, as we'll talk about that a little bit later.
It's a pretty big paradigm shift. And speaking of that, let's start with Hanwha. We'll get to Gen.G later. I brought up the fact because you said Wolf's take on Hanwha and Kanavi is the whole Kanavi said in an interview, I'm doing what the team needs. I'm trying to be there for the team and fill in for the team. But in actuality, it's been Kanavi telling the team, I'm going to be here at this time, show up or we lose, fall in line. And that's what we saw during, their whole run here against bad teams, where they looked a little clunky falling in line, but they fell in line. And that's how they ripped off how many wins in a row? Four wins in a row. But against Gen.G, it's been everyone's in line and everyone's in formation, and Guma just plays a champ that doesn't need to be really close because he's always a little late and really always ignored by the team. So Jin, funny. You're good. And you can get the damage there from far away.
Their drafts are like pretty crazy oftentimes with how transparent it is, like how they're playing, and like it's still kind of impossible to stop them. Like, my favorite thing was that Jin draft where they had everything they wanted. Kanavi is just like, I'm gonna go in, we've got the Guma backup, but it's become almost to a point where like Kanavi tells everyone to do it and everyone's following so correctly and so quickly and so on the spot that it makes you wonder if this isn't even maybe just the best way to play League of Legends right now. Like, Kanavi is so much like not doing what the team needs, like you said in that interview, that he's like, I feel like he's almost to the point where he's just going to tell Delight to plug in his equipment like before the game starts. He's like, yeah, you need to plug everything in for me, and Delight will just like run over and do it. And then like,
oh my God.
like, and like maybe Zeka's going to bring him an iced coffee, and we're going to see Zeus, like, give him a shoulder massage. Guma's, like, in the other room, but everyone else is coming over to give him, like, what he needs. I mean, it's something you brought up to me 2 days ago. Like, is this going to change? It feels like it already is changing how the entirety of the LCK is going to play. And I start to feel like the answer is yes. Like, Raptor was already playing this style, right? But he's like started copying Kanavi's builds. That he's going for these crazy dives that we've been seeing. We saw Gen.G try to attempt some little bit wacky and uncoordinated, but attempts to try to go for that style in their series against Hanwha and got shut down by Delight's Rel. So I think if everyone's on the same page and you have the knowledge that Kanavi has about what your damage numbers are, you trust your build, your Titanic Hydra, you're like, my Xin Zhao actually kills here, I get just enough autos off to kill him in this moment to where then I don't get punished, don't have to ult, don't need to flash out, or I get his flash and then I leave, and then we go for a dive somewhere else. Like those types of plays, if you could do it as well as he can, I feel like you could make this style work, but I just don't know if any other team can play like this because they don't have Kanavi. Like Cuz doesn't play like this. Canyon absolutely does not play like this. It's really only Raptor who does, and his team just isn't as coordinated or as strong right now as the rest of the Hanwha Life Esports roster. So, clear's no Zeus, right? But the bottom lane, even with Diablo and Kellen down there, they just aren't able to. Like Diablo and Kellen are great in the 2v2, but they're not as good at like turning it into a fight on blue buff, where it's like, okay, we're actually pushing into wolves. We're doing this crazy thing behind the turret. Like Raptor's good at all that, but I think Kellen isn't quite as much of a crazy person as Delight is. And I also think that there just isn't that X factor with like Zeka. Zeka is crazy as well. Like he loves to go in. And with Daystar or Vikla, maybe we won't see Vikla for a while, but Daystar's got hands, but I don't know if he's crazy. Like I don't know if he's as psychopathic as Zeka is.
Wait. Do you remember his Akali on the top side of the map where he tried to like? It's a little crazy, but it's not as refined yet. But he is looking for the angles and is unafraid to make the play. Unlike Vikla, who would just kind of make the play out of nothing, out of nowhere. Whereas with Daystar, you can at least see what he's trying to do. With Vikla, Daystar, it was like we have no idea what the fuck you're doing.
With Daystar, I feel like he's like the kind of guy who can play. If you give someone like a really complicated piece of sheet music that's incredibly difficult to play, he's like, yeah, if I have the sheet music, I can play it. Whereas Zeka's the type of player who has figured out this season. Kanavi's like, you've never heard this song before, but can you follow? Can you keep up with me? And Zeka's now like, yes, I can keep up with you. Like, I'm going to go do this crazy stuff with you. Like, I'm able to do it. I don't know if Daystar is the kind of guy when you watch his Akali, you're like, man, he is really good at Akali. He's put some serious hours in. He knows how to do all of the combos. But he hasn't figured out yet that maybe that's not the fight he should be going in on and trying to make those all-ins happen on. He like knows exactly how to press his buttons and do the combo, then hit the second ult and his backflips into the perfect angle, knows how to dive there. But then he hasn't realized that there's like 3 people there, and so they're gonna CC him and he's gonna die. And my point here is like I said at the beginning of this year, like way long ago, I don't think this team's gonna figure it out. I don't think they're gonna change their play styles. And I thought the biggest problem for me in that was Guma's play style. Like he's not the dive guy, he's not the Kai'Sa guy, he's not the Ezreal shift in guy, he's not the Zeri slide in, he's not the Yunara guy. Like he's getting better at some of those picks, but it turns out that actually he could just be far away and be Jhin, or just be like, cool, you guys are so far ahead, you win the 4v5 or 4v4 or 4v3 or whatever situation Kanavi has created. I'm gonna hit the turret. Yep. I'm gonna be the turret hitting guy. So they figured out how to use Guma, and it makes sense, and it looks cool, and it's like, it was kind of funny at first. Oh, Guma's not last hitting the kills, he's not there for the team fights, but you see how the comps are built around that, and you're like, okay, they're aware, they know how to do it, they have figured it out. Like I think Oma's put in some serious hours and has worked with the team, and the players have even said they still are sometimes in disagreement about some of the decisions they're making, but it feels so much better than what it looked like in LCK Cup and even in week 1. And to see this much improvement this quickly and no one else is able to match this style, almost to me feels like Hanwha Life Esports on the trajectory to take the first place spot. Like it feels like they might, if they could win that KT matchup, obviously they will, but they are on track. Like they are looking like the improvement rate and the early game power that they have is just unmatched by anyone. KT is kind of playing the opposite style of them in the first place.
In my head, I think the opposite style is Gen.G, where it is a lot more controlled. Gen.G tries to set up the play a lot cleaner to make sure they have the vision and make it as much of a 60-40 play or 65-35 play than 50-50 plus hands. Like they can do that, but that's not how they normally do it. And I think it goes back to the controlled, big, like, all right, I'm going to punch you and there's nothing you can do about it. Here it comes. Boom. That's what Gen.G normally does. To like, Hanwha is trying to scrap. Hanwha is trying to hands. Hanwha is trying to out-tempo you. And it really just felt like Gen.G in that matchup knew that was happening to them while it was happening. So they're like, okay, we can't take this one. Okay, we can't take this one. Okay, we can't take this one. Now all of a sudden we're like 2,000 gold down because they couldn't take fights. And then the one big fight or the couple times where they had big fights, it was close, but the margins went the way of Hanwha because they were a lot more coordinated and they did have a little bit of a gold lead in those fights. And that is what I meant by I feel like they are creating the meta right now. They are the ones trying to define what LCK will be like. And it does seem a little historically LPL-y, right? LPL would take those fights to create openings on the map, not try to find openings to take fights.
Yes,
It's just really fun to watch and see.
And I think that part of this is because of it's working well, because in the past we've seen LCK teams try this, right? Live Sandbox and now B&K FureX are great examples of well, in org that has played this way. Even when Umpty was on Bro, there were some times where they tried to play aggressively like this. But I think it's working well in part due to the fact that 80 carries are so important with role quests and how much value they get, how much damage they get, how much crit hits right now in this meta. So if you could just kill the 80 carry super quickly and just win the fight instantly because of it, or just push the 80 carry to the point where he has to be so safe that he cannot do damage, then you're like, cool, well, the 80 carry can't kill us fast enough because we are going to kill the front line, then we're going to kill the next person, then we're going to kill the next person, and it's all Kanavi's mechanics in the team fights where he's flag and dragging at these crazy, like he'll like flash Cataclysm to start the fight and flag and drag out at a different angle. Then everyone's chasing him because he's low. Then he gets peel from Delight, and then his flag and drags back up, and he goes back in. You know, these types of plays where you're like, damn, it just feels like he's running circles around everyone else, and they push the 80 carry away, and the fight is over. And sometimes it's like they wipe the team this way, but it's often with Hanwha Life in real 5v5s where they just almost kill someone, and that's enough. And then it's like, okay, well, this is our dragon now, or this is our Baron, or whatever the case may be. This is our red buff because we're going super deep, pushing for that. And it's no longer Kanavi being like, my gank failed, guess I'll just invade their jungle and hope they don't find me out. Like, that was happening a lot. It's not happening anymore. He knows his limits. He's not doing that stuff anymore. And it's really fun to watch. It's really, I don't know, it feels like, for me, the first real big crazy style change that we've seen from a team and just like them leading the meta since T1 did the double marksman bottom lane meta, where they were like, this is the thing, only we are doing this. Oh yeah, now everyone's doing this because this is broken and we figured it out. It feels like that. I just don't know if some of our LCK teams can play like this. Like, can you imagine D+ playing like this? With Smash, it's like you want to say yes, but not really. Like, can you imagine let's say
I can't imagine like Lucid
playing like this,
carrying the Sponge. It really requires a jungler who's willing to carry that level of responsibility, because if it goes wrong, you are behind. Like we saw 10th place Hanwha Life Esports. So it requires the jungler to see the angle, which, as you've correctly brought up, I think Raptor is the guy that can do that, has done that. And even in earlier series, he was starting the game in other people's jungle just to be like, I'm here. I'm gonna smite it away. I'm creating a little bit of chaos. You don't know what's happening, right? He does that. But then you needed the team to buy into it the way that Hanwha has. And that's just such a departure away from, all right, let's set up the starting line. Let's put down our vision. Okay, let's lane. We'll gank, after the first thing. But if not, we'll just take Scuttle. Well, okay, let's play for Drake. They can have grubs, right? It's been like this chess piece where everyone just handshakes everything. And instead, Hanwha turns that handshake into a fist. And it's been, we'll figure it out afterwards. Really, really fun and really good for them because people are just still want to keep handshaking shit. So yeah, I think we've talked this one to death here, Wolf. But Hanwha Life Esports has been very fun to watch and turning into not the super team they thought they would be, but a super team that is one of the best in the LCK. Okay, so the playoff push is heating up and tournament hoops are here, and there's no better way to cash in on the high-flying hoops action than Prize Picks, America's #1 sports picks app. Every bucket, every diamond, every win means more when you're playing on Prize Picks. So don't pass up your next shot with Prize Picks and get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. Now, you all heard me say that I started off on the gridiron with Prize Picks, now transitioned into basketball and hockey playoff season. It is great and so easy to use. You just pick a couple more than or less than on stats, and you're in. Boom. Prize Picks is the best way to get action on esports in more than 50 states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. You can choose from several titles across esports like Counter-Strike, League of Legends, Call of Duty, Valorant, and more. Plus, the app is really easy to use. You just create a lineup, and all you have to do is pick more or less on a few pro player stats for your shot to win up to 1,000 times your money. So download Prize Pick app today and use the code LCK to get $50 off your lineup after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LCK to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Thanks to our friends over at Prize Picks. KT, let's touch on them real quick because they're still undefeated, 6-0. Are you on my desk? Are you on my desk this week? Do you know if you're
for which game?
If you're on my desk. For Wednesday.
Oh no, I'm a caster.
I
believe.
I don't think the guys. I don't think the guys are gonna watch the show. That might be my fact of the week. When was the last time KT started 6-0? Right, because 4-0 was like it's been 9 years. 6-0.
This is how we can find out.
Yeah, this is how I do dGon's fact of the week, everybody.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that too.
Let's find out if they watch the show or not. Like, are they knowers?
Are they knowers or are they liars? Okay, so if it was 9 years ago, the last time they did it, let's check summer and spring season. And so summer season, where's the there it is. No, it wasn't summer. Was it spring 2017?
Did they have a 7? What was the last time they had, like, was it 4 in a row was the stat we had last time, right? But then I think that one went up to 6 or 7. I thought that it's
yes, you're right. Correct. Look at you go. It is. They lost in week 5. So it is the same year. I can't use the fact this week. I'll have to come up with a different fact of the week. So they lost in week 5. Was it 7 in a row? I'm checking. Week 5. No, it was 6 in a row. And then they lost to MVP Ozone and then defeated Kongdu Monster. And then they started dropping series. They lost to SKT. Oh, it's because they played SKT in the very end of the round and then the beginning of the next round and lost them both. And then they went back to their winning ways. But regardless, they've already beaten a lot of their tough opponents, and their next tough opponent is Hanwha in week 5. So
this is the funny thing. Like, Hanwha seemed like an easy opponent last week. At the beginning of last week, you're like, okay, week 2 starting. This team's got some issues, and KT's already beaten the hard teams, so Hanwha's a freebie leader, and now Hanwha's ramping up. If KT had beaten Hanwha in week 1 when they were, really struggling, obviously they would have not beaten necessarily T1 or Gen.G, but let's just say if they beat them earlier on instead of, like, who else did they play in week 2? They played Bro. Like, imagine if they beat Hanwha in week 2 instead of Bro or instead of Nongshim. I mean, Hanwha was starting to figure it out in week 2, but that would have been an opportunity for KT to just really be like, all right, there's nothing left. But now Hanwha's really good, so that's very scary for KT. And they are playing against them at the very end of round 1 in week 5. So on day 1 of week 5, they'll be battling it out. It's KT's last matchup of the round. KT, we mentioned the style difference and Cuz's difference between how he plays and how Kanavi plays. The way I look at KT is obviously Perfect is super good now. They kind of play, in my mind, fairly similarly to how T1 used to play with Zeus, because Perfect is so good. He's at both generating leads, but also just being stable without resources, that they can play through the bottom side and BDD roams, and they look for skirmishes around dragons. Like, they keep fighting on dragons. And the crazy thing about how KT fights on dragons is they kind of just lurk. They like wait, and they're like, oh, you guys are out of position. And then they like wait for that one angle, and then they just snap their fingers and go in and make the play. Oftentimes, it's not very slow. It's not very fast. It's very slow and it's very like sudden. The way they do it, and it's not like they're trying to chip away or BDD's trying to look for like a. In the past with BDD, you think about his insane Azir shuffles and Emperor's Divides and like some of his Talia picks and crazy walls and stuff like that. But now it's just like, okay, he's on Mel. He's like, all right, let's see. Can we find the angle? Effort goes in first because Effort's shot calling them. It feels like Effort goes, go. And then they all go. And the BDD is like, all right, I'm layering in the damage perfectly. And now they're all dead. And GG. We got the dragon. We won the team fight. And KT very rarely opt into fights where if they don't find those angles, they wait for a while. And they're like, nah, let's let them have it. It doesn't matter. And they leave. They're very good at judging. And I think that's what makes them very different from Hanwha Life Esports, who's just kind of like, we have the tempo the whole time. We're constantly making the enemy team make mistakes. And KT's like waiting to see if you'll fall into a trap. They've got like the trap door ready to pull out from under you.
Yeah. I like that. I think the only thing I'd add there is this unbelievable ascension of Perfect, right? Like he is kind of the one that could be the puncher in the face. Not necessarily Trapdoor because of the picks that he's played and because of his play. He's been playing well. And Wolf, it's 2 weeks from now, but I'm going to hold you to it. You need to tell me by the end of round 1, after he plays with Zeus, if Perfect is the best top laner in the league or not.
We'll know.
I know, right? I know. But I'm putting you to it because I think he is. Like, I've seen enough that I think he is, and I hate that. I hate it, but I've seen it. I believe it.
Right now, I'm leaning towards it, but I don't want to say it until he's beaten Zeus, and I want to see his performance there. If I compare Zeus's performances to Perfect's, Perfect looks better so far, but I'm still not ready to trust Perfect yet. Like, I'm getting more and more, like, he's becoming more and more trustable to me. Like, I don't want to say trustworthy, because trustworthy sounds weird in this context, but like, I'm starting to feel like it's not just a fluke. I'm starting to feel like it's something that I can believe. I'm starting to think he's actually the best. But he might just get blasted by Zeus or something, and then we're like, oh, okay, well, he might still be the best, but he wasn't there, and like we have to wait and see more. Just because Zeus wins or gets a solo kill doesn't mean that like Perfect is worse than him. Like, it's matchup dependent. There might be a jungle thing going on. We don't know, but I think we'll definitively know in that moment if he is or not. Will we know that Zeus is the best if he beats Perfect? Like, also no, I think, because Keen is still in the conversation, and I just right now it isn't messing up. He isn't choking. He's hitting the 10% of the time Perfect's the best top laner in the LCK like every day. Like, he is hitting it every day, which is wild. And so I'm enjoying it because I love the Perfect like good meme and all that's coming with that. And he's, I don't know, he's just a likable player. He always has been. Sometimes in the past we were down on him and we were saying he was like the worst laner or worst top laner in the LCK, and that was true. And he never had an ego though. He wasn't like the worst top laner who like was trying to like outplay people or like right now if you look at Rich's performance, it feels different because Rich was also like once the best player in the world, like unquestionably in another esport. Like, he was also once on top of the world. No one could ever say they were close to him in terms of his success. So it feels like different when Rich is like messing up. For Perfect, you were like, I don't know, this guy's kind of cute and trying to figure it out. Like, I feel bad for KT because they've got this guy who's kind of bumbling through. And now it's like, wait a minute. Like, he's actually a rock solid. Like, if you're looking at like a fantasy league and the cost of players, or like if you were doing a gacha game, like Perfect was a common. Like, Perfect was a filler card, man. Perfect's like the Jigglypuff in the Pokemon trading card game that needs like 4 energies to do 10 damage. And you're like, all right, well, they got good art for it, but this is never going to be in any deck, right? And now he's suddenly like a legendary card. Now he's you hope you could get Perfect. Like, now, maybe Hanwha Life and T1 are like, how long is Perfect's contract going for?
No way. No way. All right. I'm cutting this off. We're not trading fucking Dor. Well, maybe Dor's having a tough year, but
okay, but
we're not trading Zeus for Perfect.
KT does not spend money, okay? it's a miracle they still have BDD. I think BDD is loyal to this org, and obviously BDD, it's very difficult for BDD to replace Faker. Obviously, I think he would be the only successor to Faker if Faker retired tomorrow. Like, he was the only worthy successor. I would replace Chovy. So BDD has always kind of been in this ambiguous position where he could get money almost anywhere, but I think he likes KT. I think he likes the org, likes playing for them. He's got a long history with them. But my point is, like, KT doesn't spend money, and if Perfect is suddenly like, yo, I'm supposed to make millions of dollars, you know, maybe he goes and makes millions of dollars. He might make the choice. We'll have to wait and see. But it is crazy to think that this guy went from, like, it's very much a started at the bottom, now I'm here story. It's it's wild. This guy could only play Udyr basically. And like Udyr was considered like the no-brain, simplest, like, literally, I run at you, I am bear, I stun, I press R, I do damage. Laner, I kill wave, I go, don't chase me, I'm running, bye-bye.
Yeah. When they had LCK's been pumping out a ton of like social content and whatnot lately. So if you haven't already and you're craving, you know, official league content or just something on Instagram like that, the LCK channel does it. They interviewed the top laners saying, hey, who is the most underrated top laner? Everyone said Perfect. You know who Perfect said? Take a guess.
No, I don't know what you said. I'm gonna say Doo-doo. Randomly, I don't
No.
know.
That's not a bad guess, and that's going the direction that we're going
Is
next.
it clear?
No, it's casting. He said casting is the guy. Remember, they spent time together on KT trying to fight for the roster spot. I bring this up because last week was the first week where we had some absolutely disgusting games, Wolf. We are now seeing what the bottom of the barrel looks like when the good teams beat up on the bad teams, or when bad teams decide to be bad against other inconsistent or bad teams. I'm talking about the DN SOOPers. I'm talking about 060 Lazy Feel on Caitlyn, Kiwoom DRX against BNK FearX. I'm talking about the bros not being able to close out games, man. And it sucks that I keep lumping my bros in there, but they are the best of the worst. But regardless, they're the worst. And it just is frustrating to watch these matches play out because now it's that KT DNS game 1, Wolf, was so bad. We had like the Saturday showdown where Kanavi ran through Gen.G. They outhandsed it. It was awesome. And then we had like the Saturday suck, and it was DNS just sucking everywhere. The draft sucked. The team sucked. It was Quantum. Quantum was in, and it was like you couldn't give Quantum a draft to play.
Seraphine into Karma. Good luck. He's like, what the hell?
It was so. It was so bad. It was so bad, and now we're starting to get to the worst of the league. And so the bros don't. The bros play D+ and T1 next week, and then they get the DN SOOPers. The DN SOOPers play Gen.G and D+ next week. Kiwoom DRX plays KT Hanwha. Like, it's going to like. Do you see an upset? Where's the light at the end of the tunnel?
There isn't. Like, I don't think there is one. Like, DNS have Gen.G and D+ next week. Okay, bro have D+ and T1. Like, these teams are actually close to getting knocked out of like road to MSI contention, right? I actually don't know what the cutoff is for that this year, but it's
8. I think it's 8. I'm checking.
8, right? I'm checking as well.
Oh no, it's 6. It's 6. You're right.
This year. Okay. Yeah, no, they're probably donezo. Like, it's probably like not happening, you know. Those gifts for the guys, like, yeah, it's not looking like it's gonna be a happy ending.
2 wins, bro. That's so nuts. Like, it's the normal order of KT Hanwha, Nongshim's in there with their 4 and 2, Gen.G T1, D+. Those are your 3 and 3 and up, and then BNK FearX and Kiwoom are 2 and 4. BNK FearX play KT and T1. So like all these like middle of the road to bad teams are playing the good teams next week. Like this should be easy 10 out of 10 territory.
It's funny because Nongshim sometimes does I forget how to do the gaming series, and like they did it against Kiwoom and Kiwoom actually won, but they did it against Bro and then Bro couldn't win. Like that series was actually so winnable for Bro.
It was so winnable, man.
I actually thought, oh, that's it. I guess I'm not getting the 10 out of 10. After game 1, I was like, nah, it's not happening. I just gave up. I was like, all right, I'm about to get memed on because everyone knows that I was hamming it up like, there's a new Mao house in the building. But I was after game 1 when Scout was like, I will not be there ever. I hate my team. I'm never going to show up to team fights. In that one moment where like Teddy was pushed up so far and there were like 3 wards behind him that Scout could have teleported to, he's like, nah, I ain't gonna kill him.
I could hear you urging Scout to join. You know, if Scout just showed up to these fights, they might have a chance. It's so fucking funny. Yesterday I was at a like a testimonial match. I'm a Manchester United fan. Ji-sung Park is like a national hero here in Korea. He got the boys together. They did a match in Suwon, one of the cities here in Korea. So that's what I was doing off yesterday. But I was constantly checking my phone because they were leading in game 1. They won game 1. They were in positions in game 2 and 3 and just couldn't do it. Couldn't do it.
At times. Look, the bottom of the barrel is it's really rough. And I don't know how they can fix it right now. I think part of it is just bad AD carry play. Like, Duckdom's having a really tough year, and they keep swapping his supports around. Now, obviously, Duckdom has a great relationship with both Life and Peter, and he's specifically said he really enjoyed playing with Life. So maybe this roster is kind of formed this way because Duckdom likes these guys. But he's never played with Quantum before, to my knowledge. Like, I don't think they've ever even really crossed paths until now. So it's just weird that Duckdom has this revolving door, which he was the revolving door as part of a revolving door on KT last year at the beginning of the year. And then KT had the same support thing, but they fixed it, which is wild and feels almost lucky, and it's still hard to trust. But Duckdom is just not playing well, and we can't blame the supports every time, but also we have to be like, what's going on? Why they keep subbing in these players? Like, Quantum is very good. I think he's very good, but I don't think that he's had enough time, hasn't had enough scrim time to be a challenging support. I think Quantum you could slot him into any like Rise group team and he would do a serviceable job. But will he do a job to pull DNS out of the hole without being able to play with the team? Like after like Duckdom is literally already trading Peter in Life. Like, how does that work? How does that actually solve anything? I don't see it. So how do things get better? I mean, Lazy Feel, he's making plays like it's solo queue, and he's like, I see the angle. The enemy team is just like, no, I expected you to maybe press those buttons. I was already ready for it. And yesterday when he went in and just got Seraphine ulted, I was like, he's right there, man. Carry is right there. He's standing right there. he's ready to say no.
Did you like that realm warp behind the towers too?
Oh
I mean, that wasn't lazy fault. That wasn't lazy fault. But
I literally think that game was winnable for Kiwoom DRX if they just go to where Pays is directly under the turret instead of like way away from him between 2 turrets.
Yeah,
like we were all losing our minds, and then like this behind the scenes, comedy thing is like G-Sun or maybe, I don't know if it was G-Sun or not, but somebody like looks up the comms and like tells Brendan like in the middle of a desk, like, oh yeah, he said like we need to kill Pays. That's why they did it. I'm like, okay, but I think everybody knows that was what was trying to happen. But he put the outward circle in the wrong location for that to happen. It didn't make any sense. I think if they kill Pays, kill that turret, the rest of the team, the rest of the T1 is on the wrong side. Like they have to wrap around. They might not be able to recall. Maybe they even like get the inhibitor turret. That was like such a really strong angle for them in that moment. And the UCAL was like, oops. A bit of a whoopsie, as I've said in the past.
Of a whoopsie.
This
is a thing.
I think Kiwoom have got serious problems. Like, you can't be winning anything if your top laner is getting solo killed every game, and your bottom laner is the worst laner in the LCK. Like he's
by far
consistently not able to hit the minions. Like he just can't do it. And so like how and so I think LazyField's whole playstyle is, well, I may be 300 gold down, but that doesn't mean anything in our item builds right now. I can kill him now. And then he goes for these crazy plays, and then it's just like, okay, well, now you're 600 gold behind. Oh, you went for it again. Okay, now you're 1,600 gold behind, and he has a whole extra item over you. And he's like, hold on, maybe I win this all-in angle again. I'm like, no, you cannot win this all-in angle. It's not going to happen. And like, I totally understand his playstyle, and this is what Yukal was saying when we interviewed him last time, where he's like, okay, he does what we're trying to do. And you could feel that in those snap calls and the aggressive plays. And like, Yukal's like, he does what we're trying to do. He gets in that realm warp when I send it to Narnia. and he went down. He understands what we're trying to do here. But like, I don't see this team being fixable, if that makes sense. Like, Yukal is probably their best player, and yet he just isn't a top 5 mid laner. And the bottom lane and the top lane are disasters. And so the jungle can't fix it. And so basically you're doomed. LazyField's got great play out of lane, but he still has this problem that he's had for over a year, that he walks out of the lane with a big opposite team color with 1,000 gold, on the scoreboard next to him. He's like, I made it out of lane. 1,000 gold down, 40 CS down. But I'm ready to do my mechanics now. I'm ready to showcase what I'm made of.
Yeah, it's the reason why I want to bring this up was because they are differing levels of suck. Remember, Kiwoom DRX are 2 and 4. They beat the bros, so it's not a circle of suck. They are better than them in terms of their record. But for me, like, I'm frustrated with these bros because they're getting leads. They're finding ways to get in.
I think
they are, but they're not.
I think
they are, but they're not by standing. They lost to them.
Yeah. In the standings, they're not, and like they have thrown some of their games that they should have won. But I legitimately believe Bro actually could make top 6. Like if they played on their best day, like every day, they could be top 6. I actually believe that. I really do. But they just aren't able to do it for some reason. Maybe they get in their own heads, because they are like, oh my god, we might do it, and then they kind of mess it up. Teddy goes too far forward, something weird happens. But
well, even
like,
win,
I mean, maybe I just want to ask you something, because you are the bro guy, right? Like I think understand these players probably almost more than anyone else because you have a more emotional attachment to them. Whereas for me, like when I watch Bro mess up a team fight, I remember it in the moment. I'm commenting, I'm analyzing it, then I move on. I don't like. Bro's not in my sphere of like, I'm very interested in this team area. So I gotta just see the moment. I see they lost, and then I kind of delete it from my brain unless it's something I need to talk about at that moment. And then like, I can't see a trend for Bro as to where things are going wrong. Like, what is going wrong when they have these leads and they toss them? Like, what is the moment we can identify? Like, Bro need to work on this element, because it just feels like they kind of aren't doing it well. But what is it?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, yeah, they keep losing. It was an error. I don't know.
So to me, when I see it, it looks like, I'll answer it a roundabout way. What are the best teams doing? The best teams have figured out their identity. And that's why I think Kiwoom and DN are like in so much trouble, because I think they thought they knew their identity and it's not good enough. Like, LazyField being far behind and leaving Rich on an island is not good enough. DN SOOPers, maybe they thought they knew their identity in terms of, okay, we're going to be the team that uses the 280 supports that our world finals Duck Dom wants to get with, and that's not good enough. With Hanjin, it's like the identity was the identity that we said at the beginning of the year. It's a Teddy team. We play through Teddy. Teddy Ezreal. Tezreal is the way that they play it. Teddy Caitlyn is the way that they play it. If he plays Corki, you play through that. And then in team fights, they forget. And generally what happens is they're so earnest. They're like, shit, I can save this. I can try to fix it. And so they get these early leads. They make nice plays. Gideon Grubbs has played pretty solid in the early game. And then the big team fight, the next team fight that happens, they did this against Gen.G. It all just falls apart because everyone's trying to fix the mistake from that one team fight. And that 2,000 gold lead now goes the opposite way, because usually it happens at like third Drake, or where there's a lot on the map and the death timers are long enough that the other team can catapult the opposite way. And that's what's happened. There's multiple voices there. And we saw this in the Nongshim game in game 1 when they tried to end through top lane, right? They were like, okay, we got the Baron. It was messy. 2 of us have it, but we're going to try and we're going to push top lane, see what they give us. They got a couple kills. They start base racing because Jace was on the bottom side of the map. And then they got out of what they were doing. I think Casting ulted in. He's like, I'm Sion. No one can kill me. I'm going to hit the tower. And then both towers were shooting him. And all of a sudden he's at half health and they're not protecting Teddy. And so Teddy's like, well, I'm going to die. So I got to shift forward and try to get a kill. And then everyone just started dying. I was like, I can't believe this is happening again.
That was
it's just
wild.
in those moments, like before they do whatever they're going to do, whether it's a team fight, whether it's objective, someone has to say, order of operations. Like, they don't even need to explain the order of operations because they've shown they know what order of operations is. They just don't do it. They don't do it. They forget to do it, but they know what it is. So if they remembered what it was, they would do it. So I think that's all it is.
Sometimes I think it might just be as simple as just saying like, hey, Dragon's coming up, like Baron's up. We don't need to do this. Or like just saying like, this is a little risky. We're in a good position. And everyone's like, oh, okay. And then everyone leaves, Like maybe somebody dies while they're trying to retreat, but it's like, it's okay. He can die. That's fine. They're not going to get that much from this. We're in an okay position. There's a trend with some of these teams. It seems actually specifically Bro and Kiwoom DRX to pick Ezreal early in draft because their ED carries like Ezreal. Like Teddy and LazyField really like Ezreal. But when I'm seeing like Ezreal first picks, it means like you can't, that means like your identity is, I'm picking this pick that's strong in lane in 2v2s to lose lane and hope that my guy is going to pop off later. And that's your whole game plan. It just feels like you're already starting off to lose. You know what this reminds me? This is a bit of a weird personal anecdote, but like when I played StarCraft 2, a lot of people probably don't know this about me, but I was actually really highly ranked in StarCraft 2 and was kind of like basically a B tier pro gamer on a team called FX Open Esports. Like I was like an amateur pro, I guess is what you call semi-pro is the word I was looking for. But I played a lot of StarCraft 2 and I eventually stopped being good. And the reason was because I became a commentator, so I didn't have as much time to play. But my play style was just to be all in. I was that guy. I all in. I did the 1 base all in, did the 2 base all in. I had the proxy void raise. Like I was that guy. I was the guy who made you pissed. I got all the angry messages. I got the friend request after the game. Like I was that guy. And then like they nerfed void raise, they nerfed this and that, they nerfed 4-gate rush. Like I was that Protoss player where I cannon rush you. I'll do all that shit. Like I'm the worst person basically, but that was the kind of player I was to get to high rank. And like I learned macro because sometimes the cheese would do some damage, and I'm like, oh, I guess I got a macro in StarCraft 2 now. In StarCraft 1, I was a Terran player. But my point is, it's like I didn't learn all of the other strong builds. It took me a while to realize like, hey, I should probably start doing like, because the maps got bigger and bigger and bigger as well. Like all my playstyle was nerfed by like maps got bigger, the game was changed. Basically, Blizzard and the GSL figured out like, hey, like this is some bullshit. Like let's make the maps bigger so the game is more interesting. And so I was like, no, but that's my shit. Like I like the proxy void ray on Zelnaga Caverns. Anyway, the game changed, and I struggled to change with it because I didn't have a wide array of strategies. I knew there's all the strategies. Like I was a commentator. I knew like how Zerg, fast expands worked and all that stuff. But I personally didn't like playing that. And I like to micro. I like to be the win the game fast guy. And it feels like when I'm seeing LazyField lock Ezreal first, I'm like, yeah, but there's a whole other meta out there. Like there's a whole other like Jarvan priority you got to be thinking about here. But they're like, we got to get this for LazyField. And it feels like you're tied down by your player being really good at this one pick, which is meta right now. But like the other team gets like some crazy giga broken response because you first picked Ezreal, and it's like, oh god, this doesn't feel good. It feels like we shouldn't be doing this. But then if LazyField goes into a losing lane, like if LazyField goes on Yunara or something and they end up having the push into him, it's like, oh god, he just won't make it. You know, he'll the game will be lost in 10 minutes of laning, you know, and it's like, oh god, that's not good. Like that means like maybe we need to be knocking on Jiu's door again. Like it might be time to bring him back because I just don't think this is it. Like I think eventually as Kiwoom, you need to play League of Legends, not like Lazy Feel. Like it feels like we're in Lazy Feel's nursery or something. I don't know how to explain it, but like you know what I mean. Like
Jeez.
they're
Yeah.
trying to play through him, and he's still generating losses in most games, and he's still not making the impact he wants to. He's had these near great moments, right? The Callista game was the game where you're like, okay, yes, I believe in you. Like I can see it. Like it's proof of concept, but it feels like he's still trying to like Void Ray rush when like it just doesn't work anymore because Void Ray's got nerfed and the map is too long and it takes too long and that guy has 2 more Marines than he used to, and it's like I'm not saying he's playing an outdated style, but they're not playing to the meta. They're playing to his crutch, which isn't a recipe for success. It feels kind of similar with Rich as well, where they keep putting him on these safe blind picks, but then he's also bombing on those picks, and it's just not a fun time.
Well, in their win for Kiwoom DRX, here you go, Joker, take this one. They were camping top side of the map. They got Rich going, and they were like, Lazy Feel's gonna fucking lose lane anyways. Let's just gank the top lane 3 or 4 times, and then Rich can do it, which he can. He might give one oopsie away, but like that at least was a strategy for them. And Willer feels jailed right now. Like I feel like if we pick a player on all 3 teams that are jailed, I think Willer feels jailed right now. I think Loki feels jailed right now. And who on the supers is jailed? Pioshik closer? I mean, Pioshik, but it's like kind of Pioshik's fault.
Both of them a little bit. Pioshik has fallen off a little bit because Pioshik, I was really praising him early when it felt like, oh, okay, it's a little crazy over there on the west side or on the east side. Like Rise Group's going to be wild, but DNS look like they got some fire here. Pioshik's insane, but it's hard. It's a meta where AD carry is so important, and if Dom is struggling, if Lazy Feel is struggling, the enemy AD carry is generating leads. It's like really hard to play the game. And some people are jailed. You know what? It's funny you mentioned Willer because I don't know what it is about Willer this season. But you know when you think about a team and you're kind of blanking, you're like, oh, who's the jungler? It takes you like half a second, but like, yeah, of course, like the jungler for T1 is owner or whatever. Like you're in the case of BNK, you're like Raptor comes to mind, but sometimes you're blanking because you're thinking about something else. Remember, I keep forgetting that. I'm like, who's the jungler for this team again? Like, he just never comes in my mind because he can't do anything because his top lane is broken, his bottom lane is broken, his mid lane is inconsistent. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, there is a jungler on this team. He's just like, I can't fix it. I don't know, man. What do you want from me?
Yeah.
Like, I keep forgetting Willer exists because there's nothing to play through.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's how I feel about Pioshik. Like, he could maybe camp mid, but Dudu and both members in the bot lane are just crap. All right, we spent too much time on the worst teams in the LCK.
Let's move on.
That's enough on that. I just needed to just hash it out because it's like, man, I feel so confident that Kiwoom is the worst team in the league, but Bro are right there. Bro are right there and below them. They're below them in the standings. And it doesn't look to get better as all the bad teams are playing all the good teams this week. It's the tune-up week. Finally, we said we'd get back to it. And we'll clump them together. It's Gen.G T1D+. What is wrong with Gen.G? What's wrong with them? Like, what is your early guess here, Wolf? They have the exact same game score and series score as T1, so they're tied for 4th. But they are shriveling in these big series, man.
I have issues with how it's similar to T1, but it feels almost like more extreme. How I don't want to say cocky, overconfident they are, and almost sometimes lazy with their setups, where they're just like, we're better than them. Like let's just go in. It's like it's a weak team. It's not a big deal. It feels like that's kind of how they treat almost every matchup. And Canyon is such a good player. I think he trusts himself too much in some of these fights where he's just like, yeah, I can defend my jungle here. It's fine. And then he dies, and you're like, whoa. Or he has to flash away, and you're like, well, that's kind of weird. Like that is it. Did he need to do that? Like he could have just like been like, oh, I don't have smite here. I'm not going to challenge for my buff. Or some of the dragon fights you've been seeing for Gen.G have been very sloppy. And if Keen is your best player early game is not the top laners just aren't involved. They're not a part of that, right? In sometimes in a grub fight you can have an impact there, or I wouldn't call Herald early game right now, but is Keen their best player? Like, I don't know if I believe that fully. Like, I think it might be really weirdly enough, but I just don't think that the early game is going well for Gen.G like it normally would, because their fights are messed up around dragons, and Canyon is messing it up, and Canyon's getting, like, when he doesn't have prio in his lanes because Chovy isn't being as dominant as he used to be, and when the bottom lane isn't just dunking on people. I don't think Duro is, by the way, having a bad time. I don't think he's individually performing poorly. I feel like we just kind of have every other support playing better. Like, Effort is playing better than either KT's supports, right? So they're a new threat. The Light seems to be back in form. And so you're kind of hitting a brick wall to a certain extent. Obviously, Career having a bit of a upswing. I wouldn't say he's better than Duro by any means, but having a bit of an upswing, right? Having a pretty good series there. When your lanes aren't winning and your jungler is also struggling, and has in the past always played through winning lanes. Like, that's one of the things that people forget about Canyon, is he's spent his career playing behind the most dominant form Showmaker ever had, and then Chovy. Like, those are his mid laners that he's had for his career. It's like, well,
yeah,
he kind of had some freebies. Like, he always had prio. He always had control. Like, Showmaker's on Lucian every game, destroying people, generating a 20 CS lead at 10 minutes, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm winning. I'm doing it. And now it's like Chovy isn't bad, but everyone else is looking really good. Like, BDD is a big threat right now. You're dealing with other mid laners like Closer, even that are like suddenly, hitting really big form. And so I'm not saying like Closer was what cost Gen.G anything, but you know what I mean? Like, it's no longer Chovy is just like so much better than everyone else. He's probably still the best at a lot of things. I think BDD challenges him right now. They could have a debate about which mid laner is the strongest right now. I think actually both are still viable. But it's not that Chovy is gapping everyone so hard that Canyon can do whatever he wants. And the bottom lane isn't gapping so hard that Canyon can do whatever he wants. So Canyon's kind of showing up to Dragons being like, ooh, like, I don't know if they have vision there. Like, we don't have prio. And it's not that he doesn't understand what that means, but it's an uncomfortable position for him career-wise, because playstyle-wise, he's always been the guy who gets to control what's going on. And now he's kind of like, I have to make choices. Because before it was like, we're winning, they can't do this, they can't touch this, I go forward, I get vision, I take dragon. If they challenge, I kill them. We have prio. We always have prio. It's always our territory. The whole map is my territory. And now he's like, oh, wait, hold on. I'm not sure, like, can I go in here? And then he often says, I think I'll just do it anyways because I'm better than that guy. And then oops, had to flash, or oops, died. And sometimes oops died is because he had to flash the last time he challenged that position and lost his flash. So there's a lot going wrong. Like, before this week, I felt like we were kind of talking about Gen.G like, oh, okay, this is a little bit weird, but I'm sure they'll bounce back. It'll be fine. I made the joke on the broadcast with Valdez about how it's like when you take your pet to the doctor or to the veterinarian, or, you tell, your spouse, like, hey, Jerry, he didn't look right. I can't quite explain it, but like, he's a little lethargic, or he's not chasing his ball like normal. So I feel like something's going on. You know what I mean? Like, that was the vibe I had for Gen.G. And now I'm just like, okay, I think we're starting to see some of the problems. I think we're starting to feel the actual points that are happening here. And it's just not a meta where top laners can carry as easily, so Keen can't impact those dragon fights. And we're seeing a lot of problems on dragon. And Gen.G aren't getting those big macro leads and snowballing them because they're kind of having rocky early games. In the early games they win, Gen.G is normal. But when they're challenged against strong teams, they just aren't able to necessarily play the way that they have in the past.
Yeah. And again, I bring up the Bros. They were down, I think, 4,000 gold against them. And the Bros just got in their own way and eventually lost. So Gen.G shows they're at least a mid-table team that can beat teams that don't know how to win. They won't lose themselves, but it does look like Gen.G is struggling to create ways to win the way that Hanwha was. Like, we go back to the Kanavi play of last week when he had the fight in the bottom or mid lane river bush, and Kanavi like tries to EQ out and then messes up his Q, and he doesn't panic, just cataclysms back in, uses the Thunder Sky, dodges things, the team follows up and they win the fight. Gen.G lack the edge, and I'm interested. We touched on it. But
I've had
is
such long.
Gen.G a Rise group team? Like,
I've had
D plus T1, Nongshim have had a good start. They're 4-2. They're beating the teams they need to beat.
I want to consider the like discussion, but I've had so many wrong takes early, right? Like my Hanwha take was wrong. My Gen.G take of like this is their year was wrong. You know what I mean? And I think I still stand by at the time what I knew. I think what I knew at the time was like to make those predictions. I still stand by from what we knew then. Felt good, but maybe, for example, predicting that Hanwha wouldn't bounce back was like not good at that time. Like that was maybe a too harsh read by me about all the players are too old. Kanavi's been in this place too long. I mean, he hasn't changed his play style, but the team figured out how to do it. So I was kind of right, but not ultimately right. My point is that like I don't want to say that Gen.G can't adapt here because they've lost so many times in a row, but I won't lie to you guys and say I'm not concerned. I made the comment on the analyst desk a few days ago, like, don't worry, they're probably still Legend Group, right? They're probably still gonna make Legend Group. And I still think that's true. Like I think they probably still will make Legend Group. But it just feels like something is wrong. And you know as much as probably most people watching this podcast know that I think the ruler drama has died down slightly, but it is still very much like the thing that comes up in almost any content piece that he's involved in. Like it's the top comment on every YouTube video. There's still like demands like when's the ruling going to come out about ruler? And if you're Gen.G and you're like, okay, ruler might get suspended, but you're not sure if it's going to be like he might not get suspended at all. Like again, this is what you might be worrying about if you're Gen.G as the org. You're like, okay, he might not get suspended at all. We might be totally fine. Might be suspended for one game, or he could be suspended for a month, or it could be like a whole half of the season or something. I don't think, in my mind, there's no way he's ever going to be permanently banned or like suspended for a year or anything like that. It's not going to be like a Klid thing where it's like you can't play anywhere for years. I personally don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Gen.G's worried about that. But there's those other parts where you're kind of worried about, but the decision hasn't come out yet. There's a lot of fan pressure. And also, like, you're kind of having these rough games, and you're like, man, how much more rough would it be if we got to sub somebody in for ruler and we got to start over again? Like, that might be in the back of your mind, but personally, I just don't think it's that. I personally don't think it has anything to do with it. Ruler was confident enough to do an interview. He opened up he and Gen.G decided like it's time to talk to the press, and he did an interview and he made an apology there. And I don't think that's what's going on. I think a lot of people are speculating about that, and it could be. But I think Gen.G are like just not able to figure out how to play through dragon fights in this meta as well as the other teams. And they're doing it against the bottom teams just fine. But when it's real strong teams, that's when they struggle. And I think it's okay if Gen.G are like a top 4 team, but not the best team right now, because it's still early days. Like if they're worse than D+, Hanwha, and KT, that's okay. But Gen.G fans probably won't be okay with it because they're like, no, we've been number one forever. It feels like it's been forever, right? Since they've actually not been at least top 2 definitively. And now it just feels strange because they're just not definitively top 2 and not definitively top 3 at this moment in time. Like it feels like they're the 4th place team right now, which doesn't sound right, but it is, and it's where they are in the standings. And I think they're better than Notion, by the way, but it's T1 who's better than them, in my mind. Or rather, D+. I don't know if T1 is better than Gen.G. That's another topic for another time, but I find it fun. I like it when T1 and Gen.G are like the bottom of Rise group, maybe? Like, we don't know. That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
I find that to be interesting. It's such a big change up. So I like when things change, and it's not just T1 Gen.G finals every time, which I've been saying for years. And now it looks like it's not going to be. So exciting.
D+, T1, they did battle this week. 2-1 D+, they got the job done. That was one of the big picks that you had there. Before we do our predictions, let's quickly just touch on these teams. I mean, D+, they beat T1. They've beat Gen.G, and then they took care of business against Kiwoom, but then they've lost to Nongshim. They've lost to Hanwha, and then they barely lost. I mean, not barely, but a close series earlier this week against KT. They, to me, feel like a true top 4 team. Like that is where they're at as they are figuring out the meta. They are breaking history. Next week they have tune-ups against the Bros and the DN Automotive Supers before they play B&K Fear X. Like, I think they're on the right trajectory. It just feels like you're relying on career. Which career do you get? Are you getting a career that doesn't need Lucid to be down there so that they can function? Or if he needs Lucid, then Shiwu gets isolated and Showmaker has the worst stats in the mid lane other than Loki at 15. They are like by far the worst at CS difference, at gold difference, at XP difference. They sacrifice for the team. Well, at least Showmaker sacrificed the team. I don't think Loki sacrificed for the team. I think Loki just has to play safe because Gideon Grubbs knows that's a Teddy team. Where do you see D plus here in comparison to T1 and as we were just talking about Gen.G?
I think they're ahead of both of them right now, but I don't think that will remain the case because I think D plus have glaring issues. Now, I predicted D plus because I think T1 is all over the place with how they're trying to play League of Legends right now, and it was incredibly close. And actually, they should have won. T1 should have won, and I should not have a perfect predictions week, and my hot take should have been wrong, actually. But they messed it up, and they did not, they took too many risky split-up fights with a Pyke support on the top side of the map, and D plus came back. Like, I was watching that game already in my head, deciding it's done. It's over. You know? Like, there is just no way D plus come back. I almost walked away from my PC because I was like, well, I don't even need to study the rest of this game. I already know what's going to happen. But part of why I think T1 is struggling is because they keep committing too hard to these like circus plays, the Faker Matador and the rotational, like, well, I'll just show up. And D plus won the game because they kind of kept fighting that, but not fully set up with a Pyke support. Because Pyke, if Pyke gets found when you're kind of split up like that, he just pops. He goes boom. He can't do anything. You know, he can run away. That's the best he can do, but he can't buy space like a Nautilus can. You know what I mean? Like he can't, you know, hook somebody, root somebody, ult somebody, and then Faker gets in there in time. You know, and owner shows up, and it's like, oh, okay, like they were able to do this. Pyke's just like, guys. I'm gonna die. I can't kill them by myself. And like, or I'm trying to stop them from killing Faker, but I can't slow them down. And that game was weird, but the issue I have with D plus right now is that Shiu really doesn't seem to understand like what his role is in a lot of these games. You know, he played the top Varus and got a pretty big lead, but then was like flanking as if he was a Renekton and dying and like stuff like that. I've been watching with Shiu where I think he's sometimes not like sometimes he's not joining team fights when he needs to. Like I know it's weird to be talking about him instead of career, but career's I think turned a corner and like he's still a problem, but I think everyone acknowledges that. I think the kind of sleeper problem for D plus is Shiu's inconsistencies, and I do think he needs to shore up some of his positional issues and needs to work on range top specifically, because that was very concerning. But I also just don't believe yet that D Plus's shot calling is robust. There feels like they're playing through Showmaker kind of being the main character again, and there's a little bit of career is often confident with his plays, and they follow on those. But if the game gets messy, you know, the T1 series, the T1 Game 3 win was a counterexample to this. But for the most part, I'm still not ready to trust that D plus have it together shot calling wise. So I think as T1 and Gen.G fix their problems, again, that's an assumption I'm going to make, that they will fix some of their problems. I think D plus might be left in the dust. And I unfortunately just have seen this pattern too many times with D plus, where I'm reluctant to be like, oh yeah, this team is actually top 2 with KT and or you know, top 3, let's say, but maybe, you know, some would have put before Hanwha's Resurgence that they were top 2 with KT. I joked about it in the first week of the first game of the series between KT and D plus. I was like, these might be our best teams. This might be our top 2. Yeah. I don't think that's going to last. I don't think D plus has longevity. Is my early read. And maybe I'm wrong, like my early Hanwha read, but that's kind of how I'm feeling at the moment.
Okay. I think, as I already hit on, I think it's a career problem. I think Shiwu is consistent enough as a top laner. You have the ups and you have the downs, but for me, it's when they stop focusing and CV Max stop focusing on just career being in a good mental state to be able to be a playmaking support and be roaming around, then they can focus on other things. They can focus on getting Showmaker out of being like 9 out of 10, 9th out of 10 top laners like sucking in lane, because he has given up lane a lot lately, but not this bad. It's been bad. And then T1, the circus, the 3-ring circus, as you called it, in their like super awful throwy play against Kiwoom near the end of the series yesterday. They get the job done, and it's a 2-0, nothing to see here, but that's not the truth. There was a lot to see in terms of an ugly win. It was an ugly 2-0, and they too are being given so much leeway, rightfully so, in these wins to figure it out. And they, again, now next week they have Bro and BNK figure X. So if they lose this, it's bad. But if they win it and they don't win it convincingly, it's also bad.
I kind of feel like T1 should be able to, on their I don't know what they're calling it this time. I don't think they're calling it home ground, but their event next weekend. Take the softballs and walk away victors, especially because they'll have the crowd advantage, etc. But how do I explain this? Like, again, we hold these teams to such a high standard, right? Like Gen.G and T1.
Yeah.
That even though they're very, like, if let's say, for example, DNS was playing like T1, we'd be like, holy shit, this team is so, like, oh my god, this is phenomenal plays. Like, imagine if Closer was having like the Faker Azir plays that Faker had, against Kiwoom DRX. We'd be like, damn, like DNS pretty relevant, maybe? Question mark.
Yeah.
But instead, the framing of this series is like, okay, Faker kind of saved the game there. That was a sick play. He's gonna get PO'd for sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh, Faker's caught. Oh, sick outplay in the bottom lane. But like you kind of feel like, because the standards are different, you're like, oh, that was a little bit of a close call. That was a little bit funky there from T1. Definitely should have won against Kiwoom much more decisively in your mind. That's what you think, because the standard is that has been set is so high. But I think it's too early to say that Doran is going to be bad, because a lot of people said that last year, right? Like Doran had a bit of a like stronger start and then like fell off a little bit, and then we were like, oh, it's Doran, and then he came back up, right, and ended up winning another world championship with his squad. But I just don't know what to say, except T1, like I said before, have this proclivity to just kind of be like, we'll get there. Like, Faker, you do that, we'll rotate in, we're gonna play around this, the circus element, and it isn't working in this meta against teams that are just faster than you and outpacing you and making more decisive calls than T1. T1's ideas feel so freeform. They like go to a Baron, and the enemy team is like, God, it's T1. Are they doing the Baron? Are they rushing it? Or are they setting a trap? Or are they actually just making sure Faker can get that inner on the top side? Like, what are they doing up there? And you're like, not sure. And then T1 has so many different branching paths they can take that vision clear on Baron with 3 people up there. And they've been in Faker's been in so many different situations. He knows how to shot call that. And that's like always been, in my mind, one of the best strengths about T1 is they can turn any game state, even like 5,000 gold behind, like they can find the way in to win the game, which is incredible. Yeah. But some of those like thin margins that they take are getting punished. So again, 100% going to be Legend Group in my mind. 100% Legend Group team. I don't think the weaker teams will win. Like Kiwoom had some maybes there, but like they couldn't get it done. And I think that's going to be the case for almost every Rise Group team against T1 until T1 becomes a Legend team and doesn't play against them. But what could be interesting, though, is T1 getting kind of slapped by everybody in Legend Group for the rest of the year if they can't figure it out. Like that, they could be like the new KT/Nongshim-esque.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of a scary thing to think about, but that could be their future if they can't tighten it up.
I maybe. I think the difference is they have the caliber and the experience that slappening will make them better. Whereas I think that slappening just concussed Nongshim out of the second half of the LCK. Like they didn't really get anything going. But yeah, I think we just needed to touch on that middle of the pack there. Sorry, B&K Furex enjoyers who want us to talk about them. They didn't. They were there. They existed. We will talk about them in predictions, which start now. KT versus Kiwoom DRX. That's KT all day.
KT, baby.
Hanwha Life versus Nongshim. Nongshim
You
have
asked
beaten
me in
teams
week
they're better
4.
than.
You asked me in week 4, I say Hanwha Life Esports. You asked me in week 1 or 2, I say Nongshim, and I probably be like one of the only people who said Nongshim, but not in week 4. I'm giving Hanwha the edge on this one.
He's a learner. I agree with both. Bro versus D+, Gen.G versus DN SOOPers.
I think the likely legends probably win out here. Bro versus D+ is kind of interesting because Bro have historically beaten D+ randomly sometimes, and also they're pretty good, like we've talked about in this episode already, but I think D+ is just a little bit too rock solid there. Gen.G versus DN SOOPers is probably going to be one of those stomps that leaves you confused about Gen.G more. You're like, no, see, like they are really good. Because it'll be the type of game where they do have prio in lanes. The type of game where Chovy, Ruler, and Duro are firing on all cylinders. So I think, like you said, this week is kind of good team versus bad team, and that remains true on Thursday. So yeah, D+ and Gen.G for me.
This is a fantastic matchup for the bros. Like, Showmaker will not be punishing Loki in the lane the way that Loki's been punished compared to everybody else. You've got the young supports going head-to-head against each other. Oh, is this really the week where I go 0-2 on my bros? Because I don't see it against T1. If they beat T1, it's because T1 lose. Whereas this actually, I think, lines up okay. Teddy and Smash going head to head. Like, I can see this one not being terrible. Like, Teddy and Smash are like right next to each other in terms of stats, CSD goal difference, XP at 15. Like, this is a lot closer than what people think. But
I agree.
I went fucking like 5 out of 10 last week because I got too risky. And now I just want to pick the favorites in every single one.
I think this is the week to do that. I think this is the week to do that.
Give me the bros. All right, bros and Gen.G. I will keep
I think
it
Gideon could be your man. I think Gideon and Bros early game, it could push them across the line. It's not impossible.
I just worry that bros don't know how to win, and D+ has shown they know how to win. They can do it.
They did against T1 in that third game somehow.
Yeah. B&K Furex versus KT and Hanwha versus Kiwoom DRX.
It's pretty straightforward, I think, sadly.
Yeah.
You know? Like B&K versus KT is kind of interesting because Raptor and Cuz have different styles, but KT has already shown that they know how to play around that. They've been able to defend that. And also, Daystar versus BDD does not sound fun for
That's
Daystar.
my thing. Like, I think BDD is gonna he's not gonna be the aggressor in the matchup against Daystar. He's gonna Matador Daystar. Like, he's going to be like, oh, this looks like a solo kill. Oh, you just solo killed yourself. Now you're not going to be able to play the game. That's what I think is going to happen in the mid lane.
Effort was here also, by the way. Sorry.
Yeah, Kellen, he's not there. I just want B&K Furex to just fucking play your identity. Play your identity. Just play.
I think Raptor needs to turn his identity back a few dials. Like, he's like, I'm Kanavi. I'm like, whoa, hold on. You can't actually do that in this. He's like, but I'm building the same items as him, and I also just recklessly go in. I'm like, whoa. How that Nefiri game was a real tragedy. But
yeah.
It is what it is.
T1 home ground. Bro against Bro, and then D+ Kia versus DNS. Damn, there is no hope for the SOOPers. Just zero hope for the SOOPers, man.
It's bad, man. It's not good. It's It's ungood. It's double plus ungood. It's uh yeah, no, it's T1 beats Bro and DNS beat D plus. You know, D plus beat DNS. Sorry, said that
I was like,
backwards.
whoa, 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 whoa.
I'm tempted. I'm very tempted to go Bro actually against T1 because I kind of feel like with how Pays is playing right now, he might just not be able to, if T1 mess up any mid game and like Teddy's ahead, I kind of feel like Pays can't do it against Teddy. Like if Teddy's too big and he's not playing Jin, then like, you know, I can kind of see a world where Gideon plays well against Owner. Gideon has been so good, like frankly. I actually think he's very underrated. And I know I've said this in the past and he's bombed after I said it, but you know, Gideon Grubb's meta, also he was quite strong there for Nongshim when Nongshim was good early that year. I don't think I can do it, but I'm like really I like the idea of it because I could see it happening. And it's the T1 like disaster loss to Bro that happened. It comes around, you know, like one round robin match a year, you know, they end up losing to Bro somehow. Sometimes it's a 2-0 and you're like, what happened here, T1? That's why Bro has the Kingslayer nickname because they just do this, but I don't think I can predict it. But again, I would not be shocked if T1 messed this up, if that makes sense.
Here's why, Wolf. Here's why I'm not predicting it. I'm going T1. I don't think the Bro young players are ready to be in a hostile environment. It is hostile. Like when I went last year and watched Gen.G versus T1, that was so fucking loud. It was as loud, if not louder, than the finals. It was hostile. Like T1 do a great job making it so. But you're playing on that in the center of the Inspire Arena, and the lights everywhere are red. Like all you see is red. It's just not a normal playing environment. And so as much as Teddy might be okay with it, Loki, because of experience over at Cloud9 and playing overseas, can casting do it? Can the Goonger do it? I don't think so. And I think it's a classic, like, it's going to be a great story for T1 fans. They're going to be losing early game and it's going to be a little quiet. And then one big team fight and that place roars and the Bro players will know, oh shit, I just made a mistake. And now everyone is rooting for me to continue making mistakes. I think it's just a little too hostile for them to get the upset there, like personally.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I mean, Teddy, at least he's got a bunch of T1 fans for him that watched him back in the day. But yeah, it's the homestand element of it is challenging. Again, I think it's possible. It would be very funny, but no, not doing it.
And then Sunday, we run it back at the home ground homestand. I will be there. T1 versus B&K Fear X. I honestly, I think B&K Fear X is more set up to be able to take this, but I'm not going to predict them. But that kind of makeup of a team, I think, can do it.
I don't see it. I'm not sold on Daystar right now. I think he is very mechanically good. Daystar reminds me of, I want to say, both Bulldog and Karis, like two players who I think were definitely set up for success. Incredible solo queue monster type performances, great play in challengers. A player that if you're the guy making the decision to sub them in, or in Bulldog's case, you know, sign him and make him the main player, you're kind of like, yeah, I think this makes sense. Like everything lines up. Like if you have like the piece of paper that shows the data, you're like, yeah, no, like get Vikla out of here, man. Why do we have this guy? It needs to be Daystar. But then you watch him play it, I just don't think he is ready to shape the LCK yet. He's just, when you compare him to all of our other mid laners, like who is even close in terms like I guess Loki is the only other mid laner that's like as inexperienced as him, right? Am I missing somebody? No, right? Everyone else is like, I am a legend. I have been around forever. I have seen so many things. I've been through the good times and the bad. And Daystar's like, hi, I'm Daystar. I would like to use a mechanic in a team fight. I'm gonna do the Akali thing. Please pick me Akali. I'm good at that. Uh I think in 3 years, Daystar gets to have his respect given, and he is going to do a lot. And those mechanics will be honed into. I still have hands, but now I have understanding. I don't trust that yet.
Understanding. Let's just move on. Probably the most important match of the week. It's Nongshim versus Gen.G. It's the final match.
Yeah, this actually, it kind of like sleeper snuck up on me a little bit. I'm like, wait, is it possible Gen.G could lose this? I don't think so.
It is possible. It is possible. I think so.
I just don't think that Taeyoon is consistent enough to. I don't know. Gen.G will just kill him and it'll be over. Like, I see Taeyoon dying in team fights, even if Gen.G messed up the early game and Canyon made a mistake. I don't think Nongshim know how to win the game from those positions against Gen.G. And Scout rubbed me the wrong way a little bit in that matchup that they played against Bro. Like, something was a little off. Like, it's like he's got the hands, but he was looking like Daystar. Where I'm like, all right, well, I see you know how to play LeBlanc, but maybe like play LeBlanc more with your team. It felt very weird. He obviously did play with his team a little bit more later on in the series, but I don't know, it's the kind of game you watch where you're like, did that really happen? Like, did he just forget how to play for a second? That was really bizarre, kind of moment. And they've just been otherwise pretty disjointed. It wasn't just him, it was Kingen as well, who was not playing for the team. So I kind of feel like because Gen.G 100% do know how to play team fights instead of one team fights. Early game, bit of a question for Canyon, but I want to entertain the idea of it, but I will officially predict Gen.G. But I'm suddenly kind of hyped for that final match of the week.
Also, another week where Nongshim play on Wednesday and then they play on Sunday. It's just, I would absolutely hate that scheduling. Like, why is this happening? Like, usually if you play on Wednesday, you generally play on Friday or Saturday, but you don't normally have to wait until Sunday. It actually happens to KT in week 5 as well. Like, it's very, very not usual compared to years in the past.
Look at their schedule again, and it like actually happens multiple more times for them as well in some of these later weeks. Or
Hanwha
like one off of it, right?
Yeah. One off is normal. Like, you have to either play Friday or Saturday, but if you play Wednesday, it should be Friday or Saturday. You shouldn't have to wait all week to play your second game. And maybe they did that because of the home ground stuff. Like, it happens to T1. They literally are the first game of the week and then the last game of the week. That shouldn't happen. That shouldn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely probably related to the T1 home ground thing.
Yeah, so we'll see. Yeah, same thing here. Hanwha.
But also,
they play the first game and then the last game. I don't know.
Teams also shouldn't play back to back like T1 is playing, but in this unique situation, right? They will be. Kiwoom, weirdly enough, during their homestand, do not actually.
They don't play
it's a longer international event. So
also, I wonder if they're playing Valorant there on that Saturday. That's why. And that's what the schedule brought. I guess T1 could be playing Valorant on Friday, but I don't think they are. For their home ground, I think they're bringing in a K-pop group. NMIX. I'm not sure if you're familiar with NMIX Wolf. I know you and your
not really. I am currently Googling them right now. Ah, yes.
Yes, NMIX.
I stand them since 3 seconds ago. They look like they've got quite a following, and they are in a lot of K-pop photo shoots with sponsor logos behind them. And so I'm
You
sure
know
it's
their
pretty good.
you've definitely heard their popular song now, Blue Valentine. You'll always be my blue
Oh yeah, I've heard that.
Valentine. Yeah,
Yeah, I've
like
heard that.
that one, very popular right now here in Korea. If you haven't heard it already, I wonder. That's what we'll leave you with, friends at home, chat, commenters. Have you heard of NMIX or the song Blue Valentine, the one that I just sang? I'm just curious because at first I was like, they probably haven't heard of it. But then it is Let's Cover Korea, LCK. How much are they here for the LCK coverage? How much of them are Korea boos, closet Korea boos, or just like Korea adjacent? Because it is a very popular song. It's
Believe it
catchy.
or not,
Yeah.
this might shock people, although maybe not those people who followed me since like the old days. I was very into K-pop when I was like between the ages of like 18 and 22. Like during that era, I could have told you like almost any girl group. I was super into the big ones like Wonder Girls, but
Oh, wow.
I do occasionally like get nostalgia and go back and watch. And I don't know what it is, but I'm always like, it was better back then. But I think I just was more into that music than I am now, which is not at all, unfortunately. So I don't understand it anymore. But I'm like, no, Wonder Girls was great. These new artists just don't have the same magic. But I was actually into that once upon a time. I was super into it, but I changed.
Wonder Girls. I looked. I just had to look it up. Second generation K-pop, Girls' Generation, 21, Wonder Girls, Kara, Tiara.
Kara,
Yes.
my God, I listen to Kara sometimes still.
There's a little bit of lore for you all at home about our music preference. A-Pink's been popping up because they're like doing a reunion tour and stuff. All right, that's it from here. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, like and subscribe across all of our Last Free Nation network shows. We've got a lot of gaming content coming your way as well. If you don't have time to play the game, come look at some of our summaries and our playthroughs. It is some of the next steps that we have here for you at LFN. Until then, see you next time. Bye-bye.